All right. Good morning, everybody, or afternoon, as the case may be for some of you. Thanks for taking the time to hop on today to see this webinar about some of the new features that we released in this latest trade version, ProTrade by PrebuiltML. My name is Adam. I'll be just reviewing a few of these newer features here today. For those of you who joined us before, you should see in your webinar controls that you have the opportunity to chat. So maybe somebody can send me a quick chat message there. Just confirm that you can actually hear me and can see my screen all right. So hopefully that, but while you're doing that, just remind you that if you have any questions as we go through, feel free to send those in and you can, we'll try to answer those as we go through, but if we don't get to them, then we can always get back to you afterward as well. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started here. So hopefully everybody's seen my screen all right and can hear me fine. But we'll go ahead and start with one of the features that we added in with this new version. And I'll just point out again that this is for version 4.3.6 of the PrebuiltML ProTrade software. And we've given you the ability now to control or edit your highlighters or the note fields that you create. You can now select them and you can use these corner nodes that have been added to those boxes and you can adjust them after the fact. So previously you really couldn't adjust the size or shape of those items before. The same would be true for annotation notes. So if you created a note, click OK. And previously, we could just create it and it wouldn't necessarily wrap or be able to resize automatically for you. But now you can actually take and resize the box and the text will wrap around to fit that accordingly. So that's available for you in this feature or in this new release. The same would be true for images. You can dynamically resize an image by grabbing the corner nodes. For all of those features, or for all those items, that would be how you would do that, using those control nodes. Another feature or an improvement that we made is over in the Project tab for notes. So if you were working or creating notes for your project and attach them to your project or to your, so that as you viewed the material list, you would have a notes page that would show up like this. And if you're not familiar, you have the ability to add images to your notes to make your presentation more clear. If you're trying to send notes along with your project and wanted to point out something visually to your customer, you can add images to your notes. And the way you would do that, I'll just take a quick moment and show you that for those of you who aren't aware. If you click the Edit Note button, you can come down here to add or remove an image or change the image for a particular note. But the new feature that we added in is that as you export, or if you create those notes, and if I choose to export this, I'll just put this on my desktop. If you export that to Excel, if we open this up in Excel, we've now added in that, again, in case you weren't aware, there's an additional tab down here that has notes on it. So notes can go along with your Excel sheet and show up in here as a separate tab. And now in addition, if you use images, those will also show up in Excel as well. So the latest feature is that you can have images that you have with your notes will be exported out with your Excel exports from Trade. Going over to framing layouts, a couple other features that we've added in that were nice and give more flexibility. So one of them has to do with the flexibility of controlling what's on your layout. So I'm going to come to this elevations layout that I've already created. I'm going to click View. And what you might remember from previously is that you can right-click on this image and you can choose to reposition this image. So I can position this wherever I would want to on the page. So that functionality has been there, and you can go all the way over to underneath the material list and everything. So that's available. But in addition to that, now in this new version, you can also choose to control like where the material list is placed. So if you didn't like it up there in that corner, you could pull it down over here to this left-hand corner. I could reposition this way. So however you like that to be, same would be true for notes. You could move notes around on here as well. So just more flexibility on how your framing layouts are prepared and how they can be shown to your user. And then, of course, if you close this down and were to view that again, it's going to remember those positions that you had placed for those particular items. And then finally, one other feature relates to framing layouts and being able to show multiple framing layouts in one particular on one particular sheet. So, for example, well, actually, I'll pause here for a moment before I show you that and just mention a couple other minor changes. First is that if you want to edit the name of a framing layout, you would need to come here to the Edit button, and you can edit the name that way. Previously, there was a free type field here, but we changed that so that you actually now can drag and drop the order of your framing layouts. We can drag elevations and move it down here, or shift it up here. You can just drag and drop them into the order that you prefer them to be at. And then another feature that we added is this checkbox, so you can easily turn on or turn all of them on or off and make your selection for which ones in particular that you want to be working on or working with. But now back to that other feature where you can view multiple layouts on a single sheet. There's this new button here that's has the tooltip Combine Selected Framing Layouts. So any of the framing layouts I have selected here, if I wanted to combine these three onto a single sheet, I can choose, with all of them selected, I can click this button. I'll just call this Combined. Give it whatever title you would want. This will actually show up on your framing layout on the title bar on the side. We'll click OK. And when I do, I get this upper level framing layout item. So these three items are now combined underneath it. And I can still view these framing layouts individually. So I could click the View button and view just that specific framing layout. But now I can come to this top level, this parent item, and I can click View. Actually, I'll change this to 24 by 36 to start with. I'll click View. And now, instead, I get all three of the framing layouts that I had already created, and they show up on different quadrants of this single page. So another way you could leverage this potentially would be if you were doing elevations of all four sides of your house and you wanted to show all four on a single sheet, you could do that. You could have all four sides of your elevation for your siding takeoff can be on one particular sheet, or multiple levels of floor coverings, or whatever your business type is, you could combine multiples on there. And then, of course, each of those, you can move the material list around to a more appropriate location or reposition the image as you would want it to be. So more flexibility that's there. So again, that's the way you would do that is by selecting the framing layouts that you've already created and choosing this Combine Selected Framing Layouts. So kind of a quick run over the different features there on this new version. Hopefully that clarifies some of the new opportunities, and those can be useful tools for you in the future. So kind of a short one today, but wanted to make you aware of those different features. So if you have any questions about those, be sure to let us know, and we can explain them further to you. But with that, have a good rest of your afternoon. Thanks for joining us today.